Hello guys, welcome to another lesson. This will be our last lesson about the slider. So in the previous lesson, we were able to bring the images from every page. The title, subtitle and button information are still missing. Well, the first thing we'll notice in this lesson is that I've already changed the slider CSS a bit so that it looks the way we need it. You can always download the files from this lesson and copy the CSS, okay? The piece of code related to the slider is, as always, indicated in the file. So go ahead, copy the CSS and go back to this lesson. Let's continue. Well, another thing I did here was enable some more options for the slider. Here in the Flex Slider JavaScript file, I added these two new options. The first one enables the swipe effect on mobile devices. That is, the site visitor can switch slides by tapping on the screen and dragging the slide with a finger to the right. The second option hides the navigation arrows, since we have the swipe effect on the smartphone and we already have navigation buttons, so we don't need navigation arrows. I'm also making available the slider documentation with all options you can use, so enjoy it. Another thing guys, sorry, but you have to correct one mistake I made in the beginning of the course. This link here, it's not necessary to call the second font. You don't need the full URL, you just need the name of the font, just like this. So let's keep calling the other fields. Let's build a container here. We don't need a row. Here we have the title, the subtitle, and the button. Let's create a div. I'm gonna think of a name for it here. Slider, details, container, for example. Here's another div. Slider, title. Let's create an h1 tag. And here we'll fill with the post title. This we've already seen in the loop lessons. We can do this by calling a function named the title. This one will be the main heading tag of the theme homepage. All the other headings of this page, as you'll see later, will be all H2, H3 type and so on. And here we're gonna create another div. Slider description. Here inside another div with a subtitle class. And to close the HTML, let's create an anchor tag. The class will be link. The href and the link text for now will be empty. The subtitle is within the post editing area, and everything inside that area can be retrieved with the content function. So let's pass it on here then. Now the other two fields are a bit more complicated. You will remember that they are both stored inside the arrays, which were created here inside the for loop. Alright, the information is in the variable, so we can lose them. But we just have to find a way to fetch them, one at a time, into the main loop. For now, we can forget about this loop up here, okay? It already did its job, which was to create the arrays and fill them with values coming from the database. Now the challenge is to move the array here into this other loop. If we only could use this I variable in here, I think we could do something like this. Here for the link, we would do an echo. In the slider button URL array, add the position of the array corresponding to the I variable. But the problem, my friends, is that this I variable cannot be used outside of this loop. Well, we cannot use the same variable, but we can create a new variable within this second loop with the same role. As this is a loop, and we defined here in the array of arguments that it will repeat 3 times, I can create a counter that will start with a value of 1, then 2, and then 3. This will help me retrieve the value of the index in the array here, in place of this I. I could even use the same name for the counter, but for learning purposes I will choose another name, let's say J. The J counter will begin here before the start of the if block with a value of 1. And before it reaches the end of the while loop, it will increase in value by 1 unit. That's perfect! Now all I have to do is pass the variable here. Now I can do the same thing for the button text. Cool, now let's see if it works. So fingers crossed. Wonderful! It really works, my friends. It's wonderful. So let's navigate between the slides. Correct. We have 3 slides. Let's go to the customizer and make some modifications. Let's try to change the text of the button to see if it works. Let's change the page. Now, if I click on the link, will it work? Perfect, it works perfectly, guys. Really, I'm very satisfied with that. Without the need of any plugin, we were able to create a slider that really works with the look I wanted and still highly dynamic. You can use this code as a basis to create your own sliders in the future. Now it's all about creativity. So be happy, guys. You have all the HTML, the CSS, you know how to add the sliders base files. Anyway, you guys certainly learned something new. But we only have 2 drawbacks in my point of view. The user still has to input the data for the slider in 2 different locations and it's limited to 3 slides. The advantages are the following. If you would like to increase the number of slides, it's quite easy. You can make the process very dynamic and fast by implementing a for loop the moment you register the fields in Customizer. So every time you want to increase the number of fields, just increase the loop size. With a little effort, you can even get to a point where the users themselves can control that number. I haven't tested to see if it's possible, but in theory it would work. Here's a good idea of a premium feature for your theme. And an exercise you can do too. How about it? Another benefit is that we are not depending on any plugin. So if you want to send the theme to WordPress.org, this will be very useful. One more advantage. Unlike ready-made plugins, you can change the look of the slider by changing the HTML a bit and creating new fields in Customizer. As the slider is part of the theme, it belongs to the theme and can easily be exported with it, unlike a plugin which doesn't belong to the theme and so on. Anyway, I think the pros are bigger than the cons. I hope you guys enjoyed the result. Don't forget to copy the CSS code in the course files, okay? This will make the look of your slider the same as what you're seeing here on the screen. In the next lessons, we'll continue to mess with the homepage, creating the lists with the store's products. Don't miss it because it will be a lot of fun. Bye!